Railroad Blood Cancer Lawsuit FAQs, answered by an AFELA injury law firm. In this video, we will give you an overview of railroad blood cancer lawsuit claims and answer some of the most frequently asked questions we receive as railroad cancer lawyers. If you or a loved one developed leukemia, lymphoma, multiple myeloma, or another blood cancer after years of railroad work and toxic occupational exposures, you may be eligible to file a FELA claim against the railroad company. Contact Gianaris Trial Lawyers today for a free consultation. You can also use the chat feature on our website for a free case evaluation to find out if you qualify for a railroad blood cancer claim. Overview: Railroad cancer claims increasingly focus on the connection between the railroad industry and a wide range of blood cancers. Workers in this field faced decades of workplace exposures to diesel exhaust, solvents, and fuels, with benzene exposure standing out as one of the most dangerous. Scientific research confirms that such occupational exposures can place employees at an elevated risk of developing leukemia, lymphoma, multiple myeloma, and other certain cancers of the blood. These illnesses often appear years after employment has ended, making it essential to examine long-term job histories when evaluating potential cases. Under the Federal Employers Liability Act, FELA, a railroad company may be held legally responsible if toxic work conditions contributed to a worker's illness. Families and individuals affected by these diagnoses may have grounds for an FELA claim. The law recognizes that cumulative workplace exposures can play a significant role in disease. Pursuing legal action provides a path toward compensation for medical costs, lost income, and the lasting impact of cancer. FAQ 1. How is blood cancer linked to the railroad industry? For decades, railroad employees have faced daily contact with dangerous chemicals without proper safety precautions. These toxic exposures occurred in locomotive cabs, switching yards, and repair shops where fuels, degreasers, and solvents were a routine part of the job. Scientific research shows that long-term exposure to substances such as benzene, diesel exhaust, and trichloroethylene can damage bone marrow and blood-forming cells, causing cancer of the blood and immune system. Despite growing evidence of harm, many railroad companies failed to warn workers about the risks, leaving employees with an elevated cancer risk years after the exposures occurred. FAQ 2. What types of blood cancers are railroad workers at risk of developing? Types of blood cancer commonly linked to railroad work include 1. Leukemia, especially acute myeloid leukemia, AML, strongly associated with benzene exposure in fuels and diesel exhaust, results from damage to bone marrow cells after years of significant exposure. 2. Non-Hodgkin lymphoma, NHL, linked to trichloroethylene, TCE, herbicides, and diesel-related chemicals, develops in lymphatic tissues and often tied to long-term exposure. 3. Hodgkin lymphoma, less common but reported among railroad workers, linked to solvent exposure and immune system disruption from chronic toxic contact. 4. Multiple myeloma, associated with prolonged exposure to benzene and certain hydrocarbons, affects plasma cells and weakens the body's ability to fight infection. 5. Myelodysplastic syndromes, MDS, considered an occupational illness tied to chronic benzene exposure, may progress to leukemia after years of working around fuels and solvents. FAQ 3. Which railroad employees are at risk of developing blood cancer? While most every job on the railroad poses at least some risk of developing blood cancer and other cancers, these jobs are most commonly associated with blood cancer. Engineers and conductors spent long shifts in locomotive cabs filled with diesel exhaust and fuel vapors. Machinists operated in shops using solvents, degreasers, and lubricants with benzene content. Pipe fitters and boiler makers worked with cleaning agents and fuels that produced benzene exposure. Car repairmen regularly handled adhesives, paints, and degreasing solutions. Track maintenance crews exposed to herbicides, creosote-treated ties, and diesel fumes from equipment. Yard workers and switchmen faced constant inhalation of diesel exhaust during train assembly operations. Sheet metal workers frequently welded, cut, and fabricated parts while breathing in fumes containing metals and solvents tied to blood cancers. Railroad occupational exposure was not limited to one role, and many employees were regularly exposed to multiple toxins over the course of their careers. This overlapping chemical burden greatly increased the chance of developing cancer years or even decades after active railroad service ended. FAQ 4. Can I file a wrongful death lawsuit if my loved one passed away from blood cancer? Yes, family members may be able to bring a wrongful death claim if a loved one developed blood cancer due to toxic exposures while working for a railroad employer. FAQ 5. Do you qualify for a railroad blood cancer lawsuit? Railroad employees who developed leukemia, lymphoma, multiple myeloma, or related blood cancers may qualify to pursue a legal claim. Both short-term exposure to high concentrations and long-term exposure over years of employment can lead to blood cell damage and ultimately a serious injury diagnosis. Eligibility is not limited by current employment status, meaning both retired and active workers may still bring claims. Families may also qualify if a loved one has passed away due to an illness connected to railroad service. If you or your family believe railroad work played a role in developing blood cancer, you may qualify for compensation under the Federal Employers Liability Act, FELA. Contact Gianaris Trial Lawyers today for a free consultation or use the chat feature on this page to find out if you qualify for a railroad worker's cancer claim. FAQ 6. What evidence is needed for a railroad cancer lawsuit? Common evidence in a railroad blood cancer lawsuit includes employment records detailing job roles, dates, and tasks performed, safety reports, OSHA citations, or internal documents related to chemical hazards, medical records confirming cancer diagnosis, treatments, and prognosis, witness testimony from co-workers about workplace exposures, expert evaluations linking specific toxic exposures to cancer risk, documentation of lost wages, medical expenses, and other financial losses. An experienced FELA law firm can help you to collect all necessary evidence and compile that evidence into a strong claim for compensation. FAQ 7. What damages can I be compensated for? Damages that may be available in an FELA claim include medical expenses related to diagnosis, treatment, hospitalization, and ongoing care, lost wages and diminished earning capacity due to time away from work or disability, pain and suffering caused by the illness and its treatments, emotional distress for both the worker and family members, Loss of companionship or consortium in cases of wrongful death. Funeral and burial costs for families who lost a loved one to cancer. Future care costs, including monitoring for recurrence or secondary illnesses. Again, an experienced FELA attorney will be able to help you determine the total damages that you may be eligible to receive. FAQ 8. How long do I have to file a railroad blood cancer lawsuit? Blood cancers linked to railroad work often take years to develop, unlike injuries that appear right after an accident. In most cases, the statute of limitations, the deadline to file a claim, starts on the date of diagnosis. In some situations, it may begin earlier or later based on when you knew or should have known the cancer was related to your railroad work. Under FELA, the statute of limitations is generally 3 years, but that timeline can vary depending on the facts. Because these cases are highly specific, it's best to consult with an attorney as soon as possible. FAQ 9. How much does a railroad blood cancer lawyer cost to hire? We operate on a contingency fee basis. That means you do not pay anything up front to hire a lawyer from Gianaris Trial Lawyers. Attorney fees are only paid if there is a financial recovery in your case. If there is no recovery, you generally owe nothing for attorney fees. This structure allows injured railroad workers to pursue their legal rights without taking on out-of-pocket legal costs. FAQ 10. How do I file a FELA blood cancer claim? The first step is to contact Gianaris Trial Lawyers for a free case evaluation. An experienced FELA attorney can review your work history, medical diagnoses, and potential exposure to determine whether you may have a valid blood cancer claim. From there, your lawyer can explain your legal options, handle the investigation, and guide you through the FELA claims process from start to finish.